Hey, welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Tech Tuesday on the Educational AD Podcast. We're going to be right back with this week's tech guest, but as always, I want to give a shout out to my great sponsors. You've heard me say many times, these are all great companies. I used them. You should be using them too. So take 3 minutes, listen to our shout outs, then listen to our Tech Tuesday guest, and then go and visit these sponsors. I'm telling you, you're going to be glad you did. Here we go. We want to say thanks to our good friends at Sideline Interactive Indoor Score Tables and Video Boards. Go to sidelineinteractive.com. You can schedule a live web demo to see their products in action. Probably one of the best purchases I ever made as an athletic director was our Sideline Interactive Indoor Score Table. We use it for home games, of course, but we also use it for pep rallies, for signing ceremonies. Their products are tremendously versatile and their customer service just outstanding. Go to sidelineinteractive.com. Schedule that live web demo today. We also want to say thanks to Huddle. As a football coach, I used Huddle for years, but when I became an athletic director, I made sure our school was a Huddle school. And our coaches, I'm telling you, all of our coaches just loved the tools that Huddle provided. Our student athletes loved the videos, and our parents loved the streaming, but there's a whole lot more. Go to huddle.com. Join the millions of users and find out how to turn your school into a Huddle school. That's huddle.com. We also want to say thanks to Vital Signs Wall of Fame and their content creation service, Beacon Creative. Now, Wall of Fame has been helping schools bring their legacy to life for over a decade, but Beacon Creative takes it to a whole new level. Their talented team of writers and designers are going to create compelling narratives using your history, your students, your coaches, your legacy, and help you post that on social media. I want you to go to vitalsignswalloffame.com, click on Content Services for all the information. That's vitalsignswalloffame.com. We also want to thank Home Campus. If you use schedules, if you post rosters, if you communicate, if you have to manage facilities, Home Campus does all of these things for you, and it does it better and faster than the other platforms. Did I mention athletic eligibility and clearance? That one alone is a game changer. Go to homecampus.com and make sure you mention the Educational AD Podcast. That's homecampus.com. Let's also say thank you to Gipper. Your athletic department deserves to stand out, and Gipper's the modern marketing platform that makes it easy for you to look like you're Division I quality, even pro quality. Gipper's used and trusted by over 20,000 high school and college athletic programs. See why it's rated #1 for athletic marketing. And Gipper makes it easy for you to market your program with their thousands of professionally designed templates that you can then customize with your colors, your brands, your logos. Create, share, and schedule all your social media content in one simple platform, and that platform is Gipper. Go to Gipper.com to get started. We also want to say thanks to Booster Hub, the #1 Booster Club software app. If you work with your Booster Club on volunteer signups, volunteer changes, you know it's going to happen. Nothing falls through the cracks with Booster Hub. Everybody stays engaged and connected. The same thing's true with sponsorship sales, concession sales. Nothing gets lost. Give your boosters the platform they need. Give them the platform they deserve. And that platform is Booster Hub. You'll find it all at boosterhub.com. We also want to thank Ohio University and their online masters in athletic administration. Now, I didn't get my master's through the Ohio program, but my assistant athletic director did, along with thousands of others. And while they were all earning their degree, they also completed 11 NIAAA leadership training courses at no extra charge. Check out Ohio University and their online masters in athletic administration. Let's also say thanks to Hometown. Hometown's suite of solutions includes things like, well, digital ticketing, of course. They're still the number one digital ticketing provider to schools and colleges. But how about fee-free fundraising or athletic website construction? The hometown list just goes on and on. Whether you're a principal, an athletic director, even a head coach, hometown is going to show you how to save time. They're going to show you how to raise more money, and they're going to show you how to bring your community together. You'll find it all at hometown.com. It's hometown.com. And let's say thanks to Athletic Surveys by LifeTrack. If you're not using a survey to take the pulse of your student athletes, your coaches, or your parents, you're really missing out. Go to athleticsurveys.com. They're going to create a custom survey that really connects you to everybody in your program. That's athleticsurveys.com. And with all of our sponsors, please make sure you mention you heard about it on the Educational AD Podcast. Hey, welcome back, everybody, to another segment of Tech Tuesday on the Educational AD Podcast. This is going to be episode number 153 of Tech Tuesday. That's about 3 years of Tech Tuesday segments. And today's guest is the original Tech Tuesday expert. Longtime listeners to the podcast will certainly recognize the name Scott Paine. If not, he's a certified master athletic administrator. He's a longtime AD. He's working in the, let's say, the corporate world now, but still has a hand in it. And he originated this series for us about 3 years ago. And if you missed some of those segments, I encourage you to go back to our Spotify archives and not just listen to his Tech Tuesday stuff, but take a listen to his original interview as well. Scott Paine, welcome back to the Educational AD Podcast.
Jake, it's a pleasure. 3 years, that's nuts. I can't believe it's been 3 years. A lot's changed in 3 years.
Well, it has. What's cool about our profession is, again, you're in Georgia and you've been in a couple different states. I've certainly bounced around the country, but you and I have always been able to, reconnect just about every year, either at the national conference or, you're also a frequent visitor to Florida and our FIAAA conference. Share with our listeners just real quickly, kind of your, quick bio so they understand that, you're not only a longtime AD, but you've got your finger on the pulse on all things tech that relates to the AD world.
Yeah, I think you and I have the same kind of travel history. I think West Coast to East Coast. So, started as a young district athletic director in my 20s. In the state of Washington, Eastern Washington, was AD there for multiple years. Then, we moved to Georgia about 5 years ago, and that pulled me out of being an athletic director. I've been an athletic director, whether middle school or high school, for over 12 years now. And when we moved to Georgia, it wasn't as easy. The AD job in Washington is not the same as it is in Georgia. As anyone listening, you just know it's not the same state to state. And so there wasn't really anything for me to do in that area. So I ended up going into the corporate side, business end of working with schools, which has been fun too, because I get to help a lot of my colleagues or just colleagues across the country navigate different tech industry pieces. And that's kind of where I've lived in since coming out of being a full-time athletic director.
Now, again, because I think of your perspective and your experiences, being an AD on the job, boots on the ground, and also coming at it, helping athletic directors with various aspects of tech, I think you've probably seen quite a few changes in how athletic directors, utilize tech and probably in some cases underutilize tech that could really help them. What are some of the, let's say, more significant changes and improvements that you've seen? And again, we're here to help AD, so feel very free about mentioning product names and things like that, because that's what we're all about, trying to pass on tools, if you will, to athletic directors. What's some of the improvements you've seen in your time in the business?
Yeah, I got into being into interscholastic athletics back in 2013, 2013, 2012. And so I would say that, before there, digital ticketing was not a thing. So when digital ticketing especially took off, kind of in that COVID area, which is nuts to think that was only, that's 6 years ago now. Time flies, right? Digital ticketing, let's just go there. Digital ticketing would be one right off the gate that you always had color roll hard tickets and used to doing a cash box and having to figure out, how do I get the cash into the safe for the night? And then, does it, depending on your ASB law, it has to be deposited in a certain amount of time. So, the hometowns, the Go fans, the different ticketing platforms that came out around COVID, those are, that's massive. You save, if you were doing your own reconciliation of ticketing money, right? That's hours of reconciling every single gate across, say you have 32 varsity programs. That's a lot of gates a week across 3 seasons. That's one that comes to mind. Another one would be any of your, now the rise of social media and controlling your narrative, right? So the Gippers, the box outs of the world, where at your fingertips in seconds, you can create social media graphics that would have taken you a lot longer to do, most likely in Canva or, whatever way you could have made a image, even in the late, before 2020. Now you can do it in seconds and actually have like a voice for each of your programs, and coaches can make graphics. And so that's another one. And then let's just talk about registration at large, right? Going digital registration across any platform, whether you're thinking Dragonfly, a home campus, a Final Forms, an Arbiter, Rank One, right? Like any of those systems now exist for eligibility, medical information, coach compliance. Are you able to, are you green good and or red bad, right? Like, can the coach have the clipboard and the whistle, or can the kid even be on the field, right? We know the downfalls of that being negligent, 14 legal duties pieces, right? That's another one. Let's also, then you can dive into, what we just did, ticketing, social media, which is the bane of all of our existence, and then registrations. Now you get into products like practice plan, all your facilities that need to be rented, right? Well, a lot of times those are spreadsheets. Sometimes it falls on the AD, sometimes it's maintenance department, but like there's money to be made from your facilities that aren't being used when your sport programs are in there, and everyone's AAU program wants a gym. And so, right, like preaching to the choir, like your gyms are always packed because every AAU coach thinks they need to be in that gym, 12 hours a day, every day. But you can make money off that. So like, there's companies out there now that have digitized that process or made it very easy for a athletic department to go through and have those facilities booked without it being a manual labor piece. Those are just some of the ones that come to mind. Scheduling. Scheduling's a nightmare, and those are all over the show. Quite a few companies don't exist now because they either were acquired or are just newer to the game, trying to get into the space. But scheduling, having a scheduling system that works for you, like it's going to be old now, but like 8 to 18, which is now part of Snap, or Big Teams, which is rolling into Arbiter, where you have scheduling. Dragonfly has scheduling. That's a huge deal, especially if your schools that you're around use it. You can easily communicate changes in schedules and who's going where. And obviously, let's just also talk about forward-facing websites, where a lot of athletic departments didn't really live on a website. I would say in even the early 2000s, websites weren't like you didn't have a lot of parents needing to go to a website to find information. They kind of just got it at the school when you're doing back to school stuff. And now, if you don't have a forward-facing website for your athletic department, no matter what size you are, it's kind of hard for people to find any information about how to do something. So, your mascot medias of the world, or now, nowadays, and I don't know if you can see a phone, but like having an app, right? Your app for your school, mascot media, Ball Frog. Lots of different companies now offer those pieces to be in, around the digital piece there. So I'll digress there. I just named off a whole bunch of product lines of things that solve a lot of problems that we have to deal with.
Well, and again, I think that was probably the best way that we could approach this, is that 10 years ago, tech might have been, okay, you're using Google, or you've got a Excel spreadsheet for your football schedule. But it has just gone literally through the roof in so many different ways. I want to touch on because again, I'm much older than you, so I look at this from a different perspective. But you mentioned, the social media, and Box Out and Gipper, certainly two of the leaders. I remember when those were first coming along, I would think to myself, in a negative way, boy, how did I ever survive as a high school athlete back in the 70s without this social media promotion? And I've got parents mostly, clamoring, why aren't you doing this? And that was the wrong way to approach it. And, I certainly did get on board, and now I see the value. It doesn't take that much effort on an AD's part to use those platforms, and the return on investment, it far exceeds that annoyance that I might have felt at, posting pictures and promoting these kids, because what are you doing? You're promoting your program. So did you ever have that moment of, geez, they didn't have this when I was a student, or is that just unique to somebody old like me?
No, I mean, I'm late 30s, so I'm like the perfect area where smartphones didn't exist for me growing up, but then smartphones came in kind of around college, end of high school. So like that idea of social media didn't exist until, I remember right when Facebook came out, it was, I don't remember what Ivy League he was at, Harvard. Zuckerberg was at an Ivy League. And it was only for college kids. You couldn't make a Facebook account unless you had a school, like an EDU email. And I remember, like, I had friends that had a friend in college, and they're like, oh, I have a Facebook, right? Like, so I'm like the perfect area of, I didn't experience it, and I fully had to learn how to use it as like a young adult or even a teenager. And I would say that was seeing it go from, a good old flip phone. Like, I didn't have a cell phone until I was probably I think a senior in high school, like a true cell phone. It was just, you just knew your mom's phone number. And I'm like the perfect one to talk to. Now, if you talk to someone in their 20s, they have no clue what I'm even talking about. Right. So I guess I had the first old moment when I explained a VHS, and someone's like, what's a VHS? And the guy's 22, and I'm like, okay, you don't know what that is, or how about an 8-track? I was born in the 80s, so I kind of know what an 8-track is. It's crazy to think how fast something can change in like a handful of years. And so like the social media one to me was I think from my experience going into social media in my age range, now it's this whole like, oh my gosh, this is too much. Like the amount of stuff that you have to have social media for. Whereas in the beginning, it was kind of nice. Facebook was this whole, like, I could still be connected to my friends, not be inundated with ads or having to get information from it, or like the news, right? Like newspapers are almost non-existent these days, or any type of news that is physical is now pretty much baked through social media, or you read it online. And that's kind of going down a rabbit hole, but I would just say social media has exploded. That's one that I've seen just personally experiencing it, or the use of having a smartphone where apps are like inundating your phone of like, I need this app and I need that app and I need this app. In order to do this nowadays, I need an app for that. Like, yeah. It only constantly changes now.
And it's like anything else. It's now it's expected. It's natural. It's not a big thing. What you were talking about, it can become a really big thing depending on the degree. But I still look back at my initial response to it. Oh, geez, why do we need this stuff? But again, I did get converted. I certainly see the value. You talked about, digital ticketing, and, that was a response to, I guess safety, health, however you want to couch it, whatever your political beliefs might be. But now again, it's nobody's thinking, oh, we need to go back to cash and cash boxes. Let me ask you this, and it's going to lead into, what you're doing now. When hometown ticketing came out, it was hometown ticketing, and that's what they did. It was digital ticketing. When Huddle, another one of my great sponsors, came out, it was video. and video analysis and the analytics and all that. And now Hometown is doing much more than ticketing. Huddle is doing much more than the video analysis. They're in each other's area. Your current position is with Final Forms, a great company. We use Final Forms in the FIAAA for our state conference. But instead of, and I always fall back on this, I don't know if you're familiar with the book Good to Great.
Oh yeah, great
But
book.
one of their premises is you do one thing and you do it better than anybody else. And that's just one train of thought, but I always loved that. Now it seems like people are trying to be all things to all people, and Hometown, Huddle, Final Forms, they're great, great apps, they're great companies, but what's your take on that? And again, I know you work for Final Forms now.
Yeah, well, first off, Good to Great is a phenomenal book about how you always specify things that you do very well and you dig into it and always are adding value to the people that come to your business. So if you haven't read that, that is a great leadership book, phenomenal storytelling in that thing, all factual too. So
Mm-hmm.
fun on that part. I would, I'm glad you went here. So let's talk all in ones. Like it's the pie in the sky for an athletic director, right? It's this, I want the, I talk about it all the time at so many conferences, just off, regardless of what I do for work. Like just that is what you get on a call with somebody, you're at a conference talking about it. Everyone wants that one-stop shop that solves all your problems, and like it doesn't exist because Good to Great, like the book Good to Great, you have to, if you focus on one thing and do it exceedingly well, you're going to always do it exceedingly well. But if you've got your hands in many other pots that maybe aren't even your pot, right? Like it's someone else's pot, but it's something that you needed to have for your company. It doesn't mean that it's just going to work the same way. And that's the problem, I think, when you get into as an athletic director, you're like, man, I just want one, and I don't really care if everything there works the way I need it to. Now, don't hear me wrong. There's some out there that do have a lot of the features that work well for you. But I think what I talk about now, especially when we do the NIAAA classes that are the tech-based ones, it's kind of like you go around the room now and you're like, what's your tech stack? What are the tech pieces that you have in your, it's no different than your house. Nowadays you have different accounts for things, right? Well, why do you have that account? Well, I like Verizon over AT&T. Okay, there's one account, right? Well, I have different options for my gas company. Well, I like this gas, company because they invoice nicer and whatever, right? They have good customer service. There's a second company. Now I have a separate login. I think a lot of times people just need to find their tech stack. And I mean, and that's what you have to do. You have to find the companies that do what you need, whatever what are your pain points, and you go find the company that does that very well and stack it. And maybe that is one of those companies that is an all-in-one, like an Arbiter or a Bound or Dragonfly. Well, I guess Dragonfly doesn't do ticketing, I don't think. But right, like some of the ones that do have the all-in-one nature there, maybe they do solve your pain points. But if you're sitting there and you're like, I need this to be really well. I need registration to be on point and communicated, or I need excellent fundraising. Like use the aspects of those companies. Go, use part of Snap. You don't have, right? Use Snap, and that's one. Y'all, single sign-on now, SSO, happens for every tech platform, or at least it should. You don't have to remember your password for everything. So I just think that tech stacks are the thing these days, that you just need to find what are the 4 or 5 platforms that solve your daily problems, and you go use them, and you figure out how to work that in, because most of those companies will play within your budget to allow you to make sure you use the tools, because we get it. I mean, I'll speak from Final Forms. We fully get, we won't solve all your problems. We're not here to. We're here to solve these things very, very well. And that's what we aim to do. And anyone else you talk to should say the same thing. We aim to do this really well, but these guys do it differently, right? Like, or whatnot. And then we play nice in the sandbox and trying to make sure that works for you. But like, that's how it should be in terms of, right? You have a budget, and you're going to have a tech budget at this point. I think most ADs have number line items now of like, yeah, I pay this much for a fundraising platform, or I get this much back from fundraising if we raise this much, or ticketing, right? I
Right.
get so much ticketing revenue and I pay back to use the platform. All those add up, and you just have to know what is your budget so that you can ask a company, hey, can you fit into this? I want to use you because you do this X, Y, and Z very well.
No, and again, that's such a great point. And I love your take on the one stop shop. Instead of having there's certainly advantage. Instead of having this app for ticketing and this app for scheduling and this app for communication, if you can do it on a one stop shop, it makes sense because as you know, time is the one resource that ADs can never have too much of.
Can I piggyback to that really quick?
Absolutely.
Yeah, like the one-stop shops, the all-in-one like pieces, like are great, honestly. Like it is nice to be able to log in and you have all your pieces there. I mean, I think a lot of people don't know much about EventLink. EventLink is another all-in-one that is pretty solid to go into, and you see different workflows for ADs that help on both sides of all the things you need to do. What also plays into it is honestly, what does your state need from you too? And then that plays a huge role in, well, I do, they need this from, for scheduling at the state or rostering to the state or eligibility to the state could be three separate platforms. Depends on the state, right? I think that plays it into a lot of people's understanding of what do I use or what should I use, right? And right now it's a fascinating time in the industry of different states that use different things for, yeah, this is what we use for postseason ticketing. This is what we use for scheduling. This is what we use for eligibility at the state or transfers, right? Or the postseason rostering. That's a different thing too. And so based on your state, that can look a whole different way. And then when a company buys another company or a company doesn't survive, that was part of that. Now, what does that look like? And so it's a fascinating time because, again, tech only evolves faster and the usage of it only gets greater and reliability only gets more independent.
Yeah, I look at just in the state of Florida, and I'm not an AD anymore, but I know what's going on. We use it's high schools are required to use the home campus app for scheduling and rosters, submitting that type of thing. Ticketing, they have options. GoFan is the official FHSAA ticketing app, but during the regular season, you have the option of using a different ticketing platform. When you come to the playoffs, it's got to be GoFan, and other states have different restrictions or allowances. I guess, boy, we could really go in a million different directions here, and we're limited on time. Not so much, the apps that we've already talked about, but a piece of tech. And I'm going to take you all the way back to your original Tech Tuesday recommendations. What's something that you've come along recently, an app, a hack, or something that you would really want a brand new AD or an old broken down AD like me to have in their toolbox? Something come along the way recently that you're just going, this is really cool. I wish they would have had this when I was first starting out.
How much have you talked about AI?
Well, there you go.
I think, I mean, I kind of I use all of them at this point just to see where I like, there's Grok, there's Chat, there's Claude, and I think they all do different things. But when you know how to prompt it right, which I don't remember who the gentleman is that does a lot of the AI stuff for ADs.
Jacob Burke.
I was just gonna say it's Burke, and I just don't know his first name. Like that is, if you haven't seen his stuff or listened to any of his pieces, I would go there. Obviously, I haven't used it as much for athletic directing purposes. Like I don't do as much as that on a day-to-day basis anymore. But I would say like that would probably be like to formulate an email so I'm not as hot to a parent that's just sent me a nasty email. Like, and I can say, put this in a professional language, blah, blah, blah,
Yep.
and respond nicely in like 4 sentences and do that versus me sitting there thinking about my response and then being hot. about it because I'm really upset about what they're saying is happening or whatever. I think that's huge. And it only gets like AI's only been getting more involved in regards to like it can create a report for you and like think about making a executive summary for a school board meeting, and you don't have to sit there and actually like you can prompt it with all the things you need, feed it with the information you need, and then it can create a professional executive summary without you having to do it yourself. There's a lot of time saving there. I'm not saying AI is going to replace, it's not replacing any of us, in my opinion, but it can definitely speed you up. And even the free accounts on all those platforms will do what you need it to do. And then if you want to, I mean, most of them are pretty cheap monthly if you end up doing it, to allow you to do some of those more souped up things where it creates things in your Google Drive or it creates reports and slide decks and all the things, so that it saves you some time to go do something else. Or I heard an AD with AI, they were having a scheduling issue. It's a 32 school league. I mean, they literally fed it a schedule, and in seconds it redid the schedule and fit all their caveats. This school can't travel more than 4 hours this way. And I mean, think about how often we had to sit around a table with schools like that. And in your SOP document, it was built, Moses Lake doesn't go this far up this way, or East Lake, doesn't go this way. And they, again, the guy said 32 schools in this league, and they did it in seconds. They prompted all the things, all the caveats, all the pieces they had to have. And then it just populated a football schedule and then all the travel schedules for all the other sports.
Yeah, I wasn't thinking those lines, but that was the perfect answer for all those reasons you just gave. It's so flexible, I guess all inclusive, and again, it's if you haven't invested in it, just the time. Well, there you go. You're going to get that time back. And there's free versions. That's the one that I currently use. But you can pay a few extra dollars, particularly for some just mind-blowing graphics and videos. And again, all of this is through Jacob Burke. He's a longtime AD in Iowa, and now he does this professionally. So Google, if you will, Jacob Burke. Gosh, I should know the name of his organization. But
I can't think of it either. Burke was all that was in my head.
He presented at NIAAA this year. I'm sure he's going to be back. But yeah, Jacob Burke. Scott, let's promote you a little bit. If one of our listeners wanted to reach out, pick your brain a little bit more, or find out more about Final Forms, what's the best way they can connect with Scott Paine, Athletic Director?
Yeah, I'm pretty out there on LinkedIn, so you can easily find Scott Paine on LinkedIn. Love to connect that way professionally. And then if you have quick things you want to hit me on, Scott at finalforms.com. And whether you want to talk shop or you actually want to talk about registration, compliance, and data governance, I'm happy to do that as well.
Okay. Well, Scott, thanks again for all you do in this space. Thanks for coming on again and reprising your role as our official tech guru for athletic directors. And we're not gonna wait so long to have you back on for another episode. We'll be reaching out again soon.
No, always a pleasure, Jake. Thank you.
Hey, for our listeners, just a reminder, we upload the Zoom recordings of every interview to the Educational AD Podcast YouTube channel. We do Tech Tuesday just about every week and just about every day. We continue to try to share stories and best practices from the world of athletics. So please come back and join us again on the next edition of the Educational AD Podcast. We'll see you next time. Scott Paine, a great resource. Reach out to him for all your tech needs. And reach out to our sponsors. We've got some great tech sponsors, too. People like Hometown. Go to hometown.com. Huddle, you'll find them at huddle.com. Ohio University and their online masters in athletic administration. Reach out to them. Gipper, go to gipper.com to find out how they can help you. Sideline Interactive, indoor score tables and video boards. Go to sidelineinteractive.com. Athletic Surveys by LifeTrack. You'll find them at athleticsurveys.com. Booster Hub. You'll find out about Booster Hub at boosterhub.com. Home Campus is homecampus.com. And Vital Signs Wall of Fame and Beacon Creative. You'll find them at vitalsignswalloffame.com. Thanks again for listening to the Educational AD Podcast. We will see you next time.